Okay, so in the last video, we looked at keyframes and we looked at how we could animate different properties such as the position, the width, the color, but we just did a to and a from, so basically a starting point and an ending point. But with keyframes, you can actually have more than just those points. You can use percentages, so that's what I want to go over in this video. So I'm going to create a new file here called 08 underscore keyframes. Let's say keyframes2.html. Okay, and I'm just going to close the sidebar up here. And let's say keyframes2, and we'll put in our style tags. And I'm just going to have, again, just an ID of, or let's do, did I do an ID or a class in the last one? I just want to be a little consistent here. So we have a class of box. Let's do that same thing. So box, and in the style, let's add box. We'll make the background dark like we did in the last one. So body background 333. So the box, will give it a background color of white, and let's set the width to 200 pixels and the height to 200 pixels. I should probably spell background correctly. And we're also going to position this relative because we're going to be dealing with positional properties. So let's say position relative, and let's save this and open this up with live server. Okay, so we have our box. Now I'm going to add an animation here with a keyframe, and I'm just going to use the animation property instead of using all the separate properties, and we'll say animate 1. Let's say we'll have it, the span will be a 5-second span forward so that it stays where it's at when it ends, and let's do ease. We'll do ease in and out. All right, so just like in the last video, we're going to create a keyframes, and let's call it animate 1. And before, what we did is we did to and from, but in this case I want to use percentages. So basically 0% or the starting point we already have set here. In fact, I'm going to set the position that I want, which is top 0, left 0. Left 0. And then I'm going to say, well, at 25%, I want it to be top 0. So I still want it to be at the top, but I want it to be left, let's say 300 pixels. Now, what I want this to do ultimately is I want it to go from here over, down, back over, and up. So a complete circle, okay, complete, 360 degrees. So let's go ahead and save this and see what happens. So it gets pushed over, and it's going to end in the same spot over a period of 5 seconds. Okay, now obviously we want to add on to this. We want it to go down after. So let's go right under this and say at 50% of the basically like the timeline, we want it to be top 300 pixels because we want it to move down, and we still want left to be 300 pixels. So let's try that. We'll save, goes over, goes down, and it's going to end up in the starting position. All right, so next thing we want to do is add 75%, and it doesn't have to be 25, 50, 75. You can use any point in the timeline that you want. So here I want it to be from the left. Let's do top first. So top, I still want to be 300 pixels, but the left, I want it to be 0 because I want it to go back over. So let's save. Goes over, down, back over, and up. Okay, now I just want to make sure that at 100%, which is basically the ending point, I want it to be back in its original place, which is top 0, left 0. All right, so now our square just does a complete square. Now, obviously we can change other properties if we want. So let's say at every point we want to change the color. So let's do right here background red, and then at 50% we'll say background green. Let's do background blue, and then at the ending point let's do background white. Okay, we'll save that, and you can see it changes to red, to green, to blue, and to white. Now let's do something else. We can also animate the border radius. So let's do border radius. I don't know if I showed this to you guys, but you can have more than one value and it pertains to each corner. So let's say we want the left corner, top left, to be 50%, so basically rounded, and then the other one 0. So I save that. Notice that it turns into 50% when it goes to 25%. Okay, this corner here. Now I'm going to copy this, and then right here, let's say we want both the top corners to be rounded, so 50%, and then we'll go down here, and then we want the top, so 50%, and then also the bottom right, I believe this is, will be 50%, and then by the end it should be a complete circle, so we'll just say border radius 50%, like that, meaning all corners. Okay, so that with each iteration, each corner changes, and by the end it's a circle. So I mean, obviously this animation is it's not very practical. It's not something you would actually put in a project, but it gives you the tools that you need to be able to create some cool stuff. So you should be able to come up with some nice ideas as far as animation goes. It's not really my specialty, but you know, if you're creative in that area, you can do some really awesome things with CSS animation. So in the next video, we're gonna continue on with animations, and we're gonna look at transitions.